I prioritized my education over a funeral. It ruined my relationship.
Oh boy. I don't know.
Oh, I don't know if there is a right thing to do in this situation. I think you're just screwed. Before everything happened between us, we were solid. I thought this guy was my forever. We've lived together for the past 3 years, and I always loved him and the way we supported and helped each other. He used to say we were family and we would always look after each other. By the way, this comes from user SOThrowaway1, and if you want to submit your own stories, go to the r/OK storytime subreddit and do it there. So, this year was my final year in uni to get my March and my Part 2 exemption to become an architect. In March this year, the final printed copy of my research project was due, basically a culmination of the past 7 years of my education. Unfortunately, in this time, my partner's grandmother passed away, and this woman basically raised him when both of his parents could not deal. They were incredibly close. In her final years, she got dementia, but she always remembered him and their little inside jokes. He loved her so much, probably more than anyone else in the whole world. That is a heavy, terrible loss to deal with. Over those few weeks after she passed away, I tried to spend a lot of time with him. I took him to the archdiocese and we lit candles and walked through the gardens and talked about his grandmother. His friends came up for a visit that weekend and I spent the weekend with them to keep him happy, even though I should have been working on finishing my research project. I took care of him all that week, letting him rest and try to mourn. Unfortunately, his boss is a huge wiener, and it was a struggle for him to get any time off to properly rest and take care of himself. His grandmother's funeral was scheduled to be 4 days before my research project hand-in date. The problem with that is that I still needed to get everything printed and do final editing, and the funeral was happening on the other side of the country. This was a 200-page research project. I worked my butt off to get everything together beforehand so that I could go with him. But in the end, I didn't have the time, and the reality was that I was editing and adding to the project up until 2 days before my hand-in. I did Skype with him in the mornings and evenings so we could talk about how he was doing. After the funeral, he returned home, but he was incredibly sad. After my hand-in, I tried to talk with him about it. He showed me some pictures, and I read the eulogy that his sister read at the funeral. I cried a bit after reading the eulogy, and that's when my boyfriend got angry. He said that I didn't have a right to cry or be upset because it was his grandmother and because I had chosen to forego the funeral.
Oh, no.
Look, buddy, I get it, right? We can have feelings, but come on, dude. If that's how you felt, why are you showing her the eulogy in the first place? Come on.
Yeah, if you don't want them to be sad, I feel like you would get mad at someone for reading the eulogy and being like, oh, wow, that's crazy, man.
Dude, and it's
and
like
not sad at all.
You're asking her to what? To blow up her entire career path potentially by flunking her come on.
Yeah.
Come on, dude. It wasn't her fault. Things have just gone downhill since then. It's been 2 months, which is, honestly, that's a shock to me. I can't imagine.
Yeah.
On top of my research project, I also had my regular work to finish over the past 2 months. It's just been a very busy time in my life. My boyfriend went through a similar experience the year before, where I helped and supported him through his work, and he tried to help and support me through mine. But the entire time, he was cold and distant, and at one point, he even admitted to me that he didn't want to help me, and he couldn't be bothered. So this all came to a head recently when I confronted him about how he's been distant and the way that he's been treating me, like ignoring me all day, being rude and distant, and sometimes downright nasty to me. He basically said he can't forgive me for missing his grandmother's funeral, and he doesn't think he ever will. At this point, I'll admit that I lost it. I was put in a situation where I had to choose between my relationship and my education, and it's only in hindsight that I see it. I was so overwhelmed and upset that I hit my head against the wall hard and screamed, but only because I've never been in so much emotional pain in my life, and I don't know how to handle it, so I handled it poorly. Since then, things have not gotten better. We've tried to talk it over calmly, but a few days ago, he lost it and went on this rant about how terrible his life is and how hurt he is. There's a lot more going on with his family than I knew, including that his father used to be physically abusive and his grandmother would protect him. I never knew this about his father, though I knew they had an incredibly strained relationship. I've suggested therapy, but he has said he's not up for it. We talked about a solution, and he thinks I need to go back to my home country by myself for a few weeks and be with my family, and to leave him alone for that time so he can think and mourn alone. Son,
Wow.
the solution is therapy. He also said that he is thinking about moving out of our flat at the end of the summer to go live with some friends, but he said that he wants us to stay together. I think at this point that the relationship might be over. I don't know how to show him that I'm sorry I missed the funeral, but there was no other option for me. I love this guy so much, but if this is how our relationship is going to be, I don't think I can do it. I need perspective on this issue, maybe some advice on how to apologize properly, and if not, maybe some advice on how to end a long-term relationship. And there is an edit. A lot of people have been mentioning this. I did ask for an extension from my academic advisor. He told me that the school does not grant extensions under any circumstances. The way my university handles mitigating circumstances for graduate projects is that they expect you to turn in whatever work you have completed by the deadline, and then they allow you to resubmit the completed project at the next grading cycle. However, this would mean that I would not be allowed to graduate this year and would have to wait until the next graduation cycle. Also, I should mention that we usually return to my home country for a few weeks in the summer to visit my family. A trip wasn't planned or set for this summer, but we had discussed a possibility of it, and that's why it's not a completely unreasonable request that I go home for a while. And we do have an update.
Yeah, that's hard. Because, I mean, he's obviously going through it. You know, obviously this is a huge loss for him. And, you know, of course that's fine for him to go through and that's fine for him to have these emotions, but taking it out on this person is not okay.
It doesn't make any sense. I just wanted to first say thank you very much for all of your advice. It was very helpful, and it made me feel like less of a terrible person and made me realize that my boyfriend is still mourning the loss of his grandmother. My SO and I had a long discussion the night I posted for advice on Reddit. And we agreed that we wanted to be together, but that something needed to change in our relationship. We set some basic ground rules. We both agreed to start seeing separate therapists. Great.
Good.
Him for his grief and troubles with his dad, and me for my lack of confidence and stress management. He again asked for space, so he moved out of our bedroom and into the spare bedroom in our flat. I also booked a flight home for a few weeks to visit my own family, and I'm set to leave in 4 days. We were making some good progress this week, enjoying time with each other, going to the park, just generally trying to reconnect. After sleeping in the spare bed for 5 days, he decided to move back into our room, and I was very happy about that. Up until 2 days ago, I genuinely thought that we were going to make it through this. But things came to a head last night. I received my grades back from the school, and I'm very proud to say that I got an A on my research project.
Yay!
Congratulations.
I was so scared it was going to be a bad grade, and then this whole thing was,
Not worth it. Imagine you would just flunk anyway.
That would be so hard.
So, not only did I get an A on my research project, but one of my urban design proposals has also been nominated by my school for a gold award from the RIPA.
Wow.
I am incredibly proud. This year was definitely the most difficult in my entire life, and I didn't expect to do as well as I actually did. I literally just wept when I got my results.
Aww.
I sent my SO a long message letting him know how I did and about the nomination, but more importantly, thanking him for being there to support me through my degree. I told him I loved him and that I was glad we were working together on our relationship. Brother, how do you fumble the response to that?
Dude,
I'm sorry. How do you mess that one up?
He's just going to be so mad that she's doing anything with her education. And she's going to be like, oh, well, great. My grandma's still. Which, can we have multiple things going on in our lives? Please.
He came home that night fuming. He was so angry, he just yelled at me for basically an hour about my lack of confidence in my own work and about how I didn't need to miss his grandmother's funeral. He told me he hated me, and after that, I sort of just numbed out. I don't really remember much of what he said after that. I just stopped talking and listening.
Wow.
My final end-of-year show is happening this week. It's a huge celebration of the students' work. I filled an entire wall to exhibit my architectural work and my research results. During the end-of-year show, a lot of people find jobs, so it's important for us to be there to network and talk about our projects with people in the industry. I did this for my boyfriend last year when he exhibited his own work. I spent 6 hours at that event talking to different people about how amazing his work was. Wait a minute. So this guy's also an architect.
I guess so. So he should know.
How selfish could you be?
Gosh, my heart is beating so fast.
Dude.
I'm so angry.
Also, dummy, maybe if she did go to the funeral, she wouldn't have gotten the A. What's wrong with you?
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
this guy's clearly blinded by his grief,
Right.
but more than that, it's like, I don't think, no matter how much grief you could have, there's just something fundamentally twisted about the way you're viewing your relationship for you to be able to speak to your partner like this.
Yeah, to be able to yell for hours about how she didn't have confidence.
This morning, he told me not to expect him to come tonight because he needs to go to the gym. I'm flying home in 4 days, and I can tell that he just wants me to leave and never come back, which is what I'm doing. I've stuck with all my promises that I made to him. I supported him as best as I could, and I've begun seeing a therapist. He hasn't even called his GP to get a referral to a therapist yet. He doesn't want to fix our relationship. He just wants to keep me around to pay half of our rent and use me as a punching bag.
Ugh.
But you know what? You are so much more than that, OP.
Oh, yeah.
And just because this guy's going through the loss of his grandma doesn't give him any right to treat you this way. And you are perfectly justified in your decision to leave him in your past, and you will be better off for it.
Yeah.
And you would also be better off if you, in addition to watching our show, listened to full episodes with stories just like this. All you got to do is go to iHeartRadio or Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen to podcasts and search OK Storytime. And there you will find our complete catalog, and you can browse to your heart's content. We do have a little bit of story left here. I mean, I don't know if I have anything else to say other than it's only up from here, OP.
It's only up for here. The love of your life wouldn't do this to you. The love of your life would not yell at you no matter how much he's grieving, no matter how mad he is, no matter, just no matter. Unless you, were violent or something like that, then sure, that would be allowed. But I don't think that's what's gonna happen ever. So
there's no justified yelling in this story, that's for sure.
Not at all.
So let's finish it off. So we're over. I just paid my final half of the rent, and I'm moving back to my home country. I was originally only planning on returning for a few weeks, but with this Brexit vote looking so grim, I don't really see a point of being in the UK anymore. When I return and find a job here, when I'll most likely be asked to leave in a year. I like the UK and I love my boyfriend, but it seems neither want me, so I'm going home to take care of myself. Take care of yourself and become a nice, successful architect, OP.
Yes.
Don't sweat it. You know?
Yeah.
You're gold star. You're a gold star student.
Gold star. And A+ student.
Gold star, A+. I wish you nothing but success. And
you're gonna find it.
You know, I think you've made the right call here.
Yeah, that's just inexcusable what he's doing to you.
That is the end of that story.
Wow.